of teaching English literature in colleges. She serves as NSS program officer, and also mentor in NTPL. She has presented several research papers, seminars, articles, citation in national and international conferences. She has a passion for research, and her specialization includes gender studies, eco-criticism, and feminist criticism of literatures around the world. We are greatly honored to have such an eminent personality as our session chair today. Dear participants, please join me in welcoming Dr. Bin Mike. Welcome you, ma'am. The forum is yours.
Thank you for the nice introduction, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good morning to all. I thank the convener, coordinators, organizers, session coordinators, and the paper presenters of this two-day conference on contemporaneity of language and literature in the robotized millennium. For this wonderful conference, I thank the Department of English and other foreign languages of Rsri University of Science and Technology for giving me this opportunity of listening to this array of young researchers and their valuable output. I appreciate the department for choosing a topic of the day to explore in this pandemic period. Every literarian has a query in his mind that in the world of microbes and drugs, what is the role of literature? Yes, I think you will all agree with this point. We are living amidst microbes and drugs, and what this role, what this literature can do. Here comes our presenters with their in-depth research on humanism, spirituality, modernity, globalization, and existentialism to fill our thoughts with contemporary needs and demands that our literature alone can cater to. I have a 100% hope that this conference would definitely unveil the hidden research scopes in English language and literature. Over to the session coordinators.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll just move on to the paper presentation. And now may I call upon Professor Ramesh Ernagula to just go ahead with his presentation. Sir, Ramesh, sir, are you there? Ramesh, sir, you're not audible. Ramesh, sir. Okay, fine. Ramesh, sir, are you there? Your voice is not audible. I guess there are some technical glitches. Okay, fine. Sir, are you ready with the presentation? So your voice is not audible at all. He's left a meeting. Okay. In the meantime, there are some technical glitches at his end, I guess. A few instructions for the paper presenters. You are left with 7 minutes for your presentation and 2 minutes for the query. Okay. Uh, I guess it will take a little longer for Ramesh sir to join us with the presentation. We will go ahead with the second paper presenter, Ms. K. Abhirami. Abhirami, ma'am, are you
Yes,
there?
yes, ma'am, I am
Yes.
here.
Yes, can you just go ahead with the presentation, ma'am?
Yeah, ma'am, ready, ma'am.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Uh, Listen,
I would
good.
like to introduce the theme again. Our paper, the topic today is the theme of modernity in select novels of Kamala Markandeya, and the session is yours, ma'am.
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah, present. Good morning to all. One and all present here. My topic is the theme of modernity in Kamala Markandeya novels. First of all, generally, modernity implies the way which is new, advanced, and it does not resemble the past. The views, notions, and thoughts are changed from the ancient views and myth. It is opposite to the ancient or past. By modernizations, we mean a process of long range and social and cultural change, often regarded as leading to the progressive development of society. My study on Kamala Markandeya is presents the prevailing modernity in contemporary society in relation to the mentioned characters in the novels. So it is entitled Modernity. Her themes are poverty and hunger, tradition versus modernity, east-west encounter, etc. Modernity, Kamala Markandeya has tried to raise the conditions of women in rural India. Keeping optimistic view, she shows her humanism. She is such a novelist who tried to show different types of women in the context of India and England. Markandeya characters belong to the rural life. In two versions, has successfully explained the advantage and the disadvantage of the modernity. In this novel, Markandeya succeeds to show the slow way of revealing modernity in the village. How the villagers turn towards the modern film city. Markandeya, an immigrant writer, covers the changing condition of India from the traditions into the modernity. Try to show it through the characters like Lalita and Govind. Lalita is a simple village girl whose parents believes in simplicity, but it's Lalita interested to engage in film world, and she gets guidance from her teacher, Miss Medusha. A film city is also a part of modern society. Lalita's mother is a traditional woman, and father plays to be a modern. Modern society likes it, while a tradition-oriented society opposes it. Her mother and aunt are traditional women and opposite, while her father and the Christian teacher favor in the Lalita attitude. In Neptune Sieve, Rukmani, the narrator of the novel, presents the pictures of both rural and glamorous life. She is a silent woman, keeps faith in traditional way of living, but yeah, at a time she turns to the city where she sees the other aspects of life. And Rukmani and Nathan go to city for search the sun and settled in city for the modernity. In possession, Valmiki was 16 years old, belonged to the village and compelled to go to England by a foreigner, Caroline Bell. He believed in simplicity, but when he reached England, his culture would be changed and became a modern. For Caroline Bell, Valmiki is just a means to achieve successful in life and society. She is more interested in finalizing profitable negotiations with the rich merchants in the capitals of Europe and America. And after winning and the recognitions in the higher society, Caroline now aspires to retain him forever and so makes love with him. She leaves no stones unturned in order to bind the young man to herself. She compels the Tamil cook to write Valmiki a letter, and because of his friend Swami, drives away her maid servant, Eli, who expects a child from Valmiki and thereby creates a circumcision for her to suicide. And discreditable the young man in the eyes of his beloved Innable and despises the Valmiki of means to come back to India. Valmiki herself characterizes her and says, "She does not care for me. She cares only for what I can do, and if I do it, it will it like one more demand. She can put on the necklace round her the thread for friends to admire. Caroline is a selfish lady and wants to get benefits on his behalf. She meets Valmiki when she was only an adolescent. After she brought him to London, she puts the studio at his disposal with the canvas and colors in his hands, and she does not provide him even basic education for essential literaries. This section that she was always lived in under the inferiority complex. Here, Kamala American tried to give the story of Caroline and Valmiki colonization, the bossing and the empire and current insights, the moments of the modernism. Now, modernity evaluates the prevailing modernity, modern habits and modern manners, ideas of contemporary society, and gives the views of both positive and negative development. It shows that both spirituality and modernity go together. As the time changes, new views and ideas are taking place, and the new generation try to compromise with old faith and old views. Though the novels Two Virgins and Some Inner Furry and A Nowhere Man, the novelists have tried to show the changing futures of contemporary India and how the Indian people are copying the Western thinking or adopting the ways of living, wearing, and yet eating. If the modernity shows the positive development of people, it also the discuss the personality of person. The prevailing modernity is losing the Indian cultures and traditions. They adapt the Western culture and feel proud of being Western. They are being slaves of Western society and the modernity. Here I conclude the my topic. Thank you.
Excellent expression of ideas, Binami ma'am.
Thank you.
Do you find that there is relevance of what are the ideas conveyed by? Am I audible, ma'am?
Yeah, Mama, audible.
Yes.
Kamala Markandeya's views regarding modernity. Do you
Yeah,
find some? Is there any relevance to the present day scenario where people nowadays also move towards modernity?
yes, ma'am.
Modernity and tradition are the two uh, sides of a coin. Okay,
Yeah.
we have to balance both these. And how far ideas of Kamala Markande as regarding modernity are relevant to the contemporary period?
That's he basically given the rural problems, ma'am. But the modernity means each and every people towards the going to the modernity at present. Even the girls or the boys, the like in even chudidar and food items, also the modernity. But Markanda is mentioned that not only modernity, it's a tradition also. Even going to modernity, we lost the traditions. That's the Kamala Markande mentioned.
So moving towards modernity definitely will make us to lose our tradition. It is what Kamala Markande wants to convey.
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah, ma'am.
Audience, do you agree with her answer? If there are any questions, you can also ask her. Do you consider that if we move towards modernity, do we lose our tradition? Is it so?
Yeah,
Waiting
sometimes
for
we
open
yes.
discussion. Okay. Okay, Abhiramya.
Yes.
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes, from the audience also. Yes, good.
Yeah, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
We can have the next presenter.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, I call upon Ms. Casey Maithili to present her paper.
Thank you, Asha. Good morning, everyone. And the topic for today is the impact of globalization on language, culture, and English language teaching. And I'll just start off with my PPT. Um, I guess my screen is visible. Is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes,
Yes, Dr.
ma'am.
Vinval, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, fine. So this is the topic, globalization. So before we get into the impact of globalization on language, culture, and English language teaching, we have to first understand what is globalization. There are so many theories and definitions given by great people. And we'll just start off with Martin Luther King. And Martin Luther King, he saw globalization as an inescapable network of mutuality. It is indispensable, he says, and it is a very wide network of interdependence. Mutuality is nothing but depending on somebody else. So there is always interdependence. So that is what he defined globalization. And then we have Steger in his very short introduction on globalization. He says globalization is a social condition which is characterized by the existence of global economic, political, cultural, linguistic, and environmental interconnections and flows that make the many of the currently existing borders and boundaries irrelevant. He says, once we have this globalization, that makes the line of demarcation or the geographical areas get unified into one and it fades away. There is no line of demarcation at all. There is no boundary line at all. All the countries or the nations, they become one. Okay, and that is what he calls globalization. And there is yet another definition given by Giddens. He sees globalization as an intensification of worldwide social relations. It's about the relationship across the globe, which link the geographical areas, the regions, the different nationalities, and they unify them into one. And it bridges the gap between the countries, which are miles away, which are separated by distances. And that is how he sees globalization. And finally, we have another writer talking about globalization as an influence of human well-being. It's not just about relationship, it's not just about the fading out of the borders. It is about the human well-being, including health and personal safety, and about the environment, culture, that includes ideas, religion, and political system, and also the economic development of the world at large and the prosperity of different societies across the world. And this is what they define globalization. This is how they define globalization. But then, what globalization actually aims at, or what is the crux behind this globalization? And when we talk about globalization, we need a medium to communicate. Without communication, we cannot reach out to the people across the globe. So we need a medium of communication to get in touch with people with different nationalities. And take, for example, in India itself, we have diverse cultures, diverse languages as well. And if only I have to communicate, I'm in Tamil Nadu. So Tamil is the vernacular here. And if only I have to get in touch with people from different states, I need to learn the language. If only I have to speak to people in Delhi, I need to know Hindi. And if only I have to communicate with people in the western region, I have to learn Gujarati or other languages, Rajasthani, or in South India itself, I have to learn Malayalam, Kannada, Telugu. And it's very difficult for us to learn all the languages and to become a polyglot. And I cannot be multilingual always. So I need a common platform for me to communicate within my own country and then across the globe, across the world. So globalization makes this possible for us to have a medium of communication to get in touch with the people across the world. And then when we talk about language, globalization and language are totally interconnected. Okay, one cannot survive without the other. And when we talk about communication, language comes into picture. When we talk about globalization, again, language comes into picture through which we communicate. And this language empowers us to communicate across these diverse cultures. And this diverse culture brings in a better understanding of the world around us. And if we take India, okay, for a better understanding, in Tamil Nadu, we follow a different culture, okay? Whereas if you go to the northern part of India, the culture slightly varies. And when we step out of our own country and we step into different countries as migrants or as just visitors or for job opportunities, we need to have a better understanding of the world over there, the world that exists over there. And we have to adapt ourselves to the cultural diversity. So obviously we tend to appreciate, adapt, and acknowledge the diverse cultures over there as well. So globalization makes it possible for us to do that. And finally, when we go and settle down over there, when we have a taste of these cultures, we have a resurgence of knowledge. We get to understand the cultures, the knowledge, okay, the intelligence, the attitudes, the behavior, and thereby that subsequently leads to the development of a country, and of course that leads finally to the economic development of not only one's own country, also not only one's own self, but the entire universe itself. And finally, when we talk about globalization, as I told earlier, English language comes into picture. Why English has become the pulse of globalization, not any other language? Why is it so? It has become the international language of communication. Why is it so? Because colonization has led to the flourish of English and its predominant status in the world today. British people occupied so many countries and they formed colonies over there. And the people who were living over there, they were forced to learn English. And that way, English became a medium of communication, okay, to interact with their own people and also the outsiders. So colonization has led to the great flourish of English. And when we talk about English, English today is seen as a passport to a new world of opportunities. For you that redefines academic, economic, social, and ethical values, okay, of the learner. And it also transcends the time, the distance, and the space, and makes this world into one. And we come under one particular roof or one umbrella through which we communicate with the world at large. And finally, this has become a dominant language. It has become a predominant language of international relations. Take any sector for that matter, okay? English has become indispensable today. You take international relations, security, travel, airport, media, education, communication. So whatever sector or field or domain we talk about, English has occupied a special status over there. Without English, we cannot survive at all. That is where we have reached now. That is why it's called the pulse of globalization. And then when we look into the statistics of the status that English enjoys today, okay, or it has been enjoying for the past decade, 1 decade or 2 decades, we can clearly understand the status it is occupied. 2/3 of world scientists, they write only in English. And about 80% of the computers use English. And then in between, we have our own native languages. So apart from that, 80% occupies only English. And then 3/4 of the world's mails are written in English. And around 70 to 75% of advertisements, again, I'm talking about the entertainment media and the advertising medias, and their media, wherein they use only English as a communication language. Okay, to communicate, they use only English. And over 5,000 English newspapers, just imagine 5,000 English newspapers are published all over the world. And finally, English is occupied or has come to stay as a language of books, newspapers, airport, air traffic control, international business, and take any domain for that matter. It has occupied a huge space and it has become highly predominant where we cannot survive without this language. Academic conferences, science, technology, okay, in the field of medicine, and for diplomatic purposes, sports, pop music, media, advertising, you name anything, you have English over there. That is how globalization has impacted English language as well. And then this expansive use of language, this widespread use of language in these areas makes it highly imperative. And if only any country wants to develop or progress, they have to be a part of English-speaking community. That's what Mackay says. Without learning this language, you cannot be a part of the global village. You cannot be a part of this global hut. And if you want to be a part of this intellectual community, wherein you have diverse cultures, different languages, and then where you come together under one roof, you need to learn English. And this keen interest to learn English has been increasing in number. With all the people showing interest, individuals in different countries, they show keen interest in learning English because, as I told them earlier, it opens up multitude of opportunities. Okay, we can survive anywhere across the globe if we have this tool or the weapon with us called English. and it has a special status in at least 75 countries with a total population of over 2 billion. Just imagine, that's highly incredible number. And it is being used as a first language by around 375 million speakers today. And it comes as further as a second language by yet another 375 million speakers in the world. The number is highly astounding. And of course, surprisingly enough, we never realized that we have given so much space to one particular language. In the process, we have almost forgotten our own native tongue as well. And when we talk about English and take Tamil Nadu, okay, or take India, and when we, even in our conversational style, when we use our own mother tongue, in a sentence of 5 words, we have almost
My ma'am, are you there?
twist. Okay, it's not just enough that we stop with one language. Okay, say for example, if my mother tongue is Tamil, I cannot just stop with my own mother tongue. I have to move on if I have to progress in life, and if I have to explore the world and the opportunities available over there. Yes, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
You can proceed, ma'am. In
Yes.
between, I couldn't hear you. Ma'am. That's why I'm asking. Okay, ma'am. You can proceed. You can.
Okay, okay. Am I audible now? Am I audible now?
Yes, now, ma'am. You
Yes,
are
I
audible
guess I'm
now.
audible. Yes, ma'am. Yes, yeah. Thank you. So, since there is a keen passion to learn English for the multiple availability of opportunities, English has grown from a mediocre status to a very incredible dominant status. And this growth of English has influenced the growth of English language teaching as well, ELT in short. This English language teaching delineates and redefines the structure of English teaching and learning. And there is a constant growth and a demand for English teachers as well. And today, English teachers are in great demand. Okay, and wherever you go, you are the immediate, take up. So that's how English teachers are seen today, because the world going crazy about English language, and it becomes mandatory for us to learn English. And that's where English teachers come into picture, and there is a growing demand for these teachers. And this English language teachers, they become potential agents for the development of intellectual, social, and emotional competence of the learners as well. They become mentors, they become facilitators, and they teach. So they become potential agents. And then we have different organizations wherein we promote and test, okay, and institute English as a language. And we have organizations like TESOL, okay, TESL, TEFL, wherein you teach English as a foreign language. And then we have language testing agents like a certificate in the teaching of English to speakers of other languages. We have British Council, we have IELTS, and then TOEFL. And these bodies test the competency of the teachers who take up English as English language, to teach English language to the native speakers and the non-native speakers as well. And then we have professional bodies like ELTI, English Language Teachers Association of India, and then we have ISTE as well, wherein we have the Indian Society, not only for science and humanities, but also for technical education as well. And then these organizations, these professional bodies, where do they take us? How do we have access to all these? There comes into the scenario the digital world. And today, with the growing technology, okay, the digital world has taken us to a place where it is highly unimaginable. Okay, it has introduced us to a closely knit global intellectual hub. There are oceans of massive materials and resources available online for the purpose of teaching and learning. And this has brought in a new trend. This has brought in a very fresh trend of learning and growing globally. If everything is getting digital, everything is digitized, and you want to know about anything, you just log in and use the digital world, and everything is available at the tap of a key. That's it. And English language teaching and learning is also taken a new shape because of this digital world. And there is also an introduction of new English web language as well, web dialect. On social media, on WhatsApp, on the digital world, we don't use the same English language that we use in the written form, use in literature. So it has taken a new transformation. It has undergone a transformation, okay, that too in a positive sense. And then when we talk about the unique opportunities that provides to people, that is also highly incredible. And from my own private space, okay, I sit in my private space and I reach out to the people, and then I teach them and I can learn. I just name it, and then I can have so many videos and so many resource materials available, and I can have access to everything. So from my private space, it's possible for me to reach out to the language or to the intellect of people across the globe. And people who have disabilities also, from their own private space, they can take up this opportunity to teach English and also to learn English from their own private space. And then finally, we have English language labs. And it is of great help to the language teachers and learners to practice their accent and improve and prepare themselves to compete at the global platform. And it becomes very easy for them, because if only I have to practice my accent, so how do I do that? So if I have to get the exact pronunciation of a particular word, if it is particular, then how do I learn that? There are so many practice sessions online which is available to every learner, to every teacher. So I can have access to all that. I can keep on practicing. I can improvise. I can improve, and then I can, mold myself, prepare myself to compete at the global level. So digital world has brought in that transformation, that access to English language teaching and learning as well. And this new joy of learning and growing across different cultures and spaces, that makes us pretty excited. And then we talk about culture. When we talk about globalization, it's not only language. English language doesn't come into picture alone. When we go and learn English language, we settle down in different countries and we get a taste of all the cultures under one roof. English makes it possible. English enables us and becomes a connecting platform to adopt these diverse cultures, and then to have a taste of those cultures and imbibe and absorb those cultures, and then appreciate that, understand it first, then appreciate it, acknowledge it, and then we get the tolerance. We become very, very tolerant of all those cultures as well. And sometimes we become critical as well, okay? But most of the time we love to adopt those cultures because it is something new. It is something different from the culture that we have been introduced since the time we are born. So it's completely different. That newness always attracts us, okay? And this globalization has paved way for all these. And there is a change in the attitude and the behavior and approaches to life. And our entire perception to life changes when we get in touch with people from different countries. And people in the Western, they adopt to our culture. They adopt our culture, and then they say, like, Indian culture is so diverse, so different, so beautiful. And the same happens with everybody else as well, who go and have a taste of these cultures. And finally, it leads to a very, very harmonious relationship. In diverse cultures, we taste this harmonious relationship as well. And finally, to end up, I would like to again would like to sum up English, which is adopted language. It is not our own mother tongue, it is an adopted language. Though it has taken a special status, but we have to talk about the another disadvantage when we imbibe English and we use language at the global level. This language has pushed several other native languages to extinction. And take up our own example, Tamil. And if we speak in English, we understand that our people analyze or perceive us as highly intelligent people. If you speak in Tamil, you're validated otherwise, right? Your valid goes down. You are looked down upon when you speak in your own mother tongue. So that's what has exactly happened. The adopted language has actually swallowed or eaten away most of the native languages, and it has pushed these languages to the verge of extinction. And also, when we talk about the positive side, it has made us become appreciative of, and to a certain extent critical of, other cultural, social and economic components in the world. And it also provides lucrative offers to the English language teachers as well. And finally, English globalization has made English synonymous with knowledge, class, competence, and wealth as well. And thanks for the opportunity.
Excellent, excellent research topic, madam. Mrs.
Thank
Maitri,
you very much.
I appreciate you for choosing this idea of globalization and its impact on language, culture, and English language teaching. You have highlighted everything regarding the significant role of English language in this globalized world. Especially your words, language empowers to communicate across cultures. It summarizes the whole research, whole of your research, and the final terms, the concluding terms like you can enrich or you can have the taste of all cultures under one roof if you learn English language. It's very wonderful, ma'am. But I have a doubt, and
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know whether how you believe it, and do you have the hope that the rural Indians, the Indians from the rural background, can they cope with this rapid pace of globalization in language acquisition as well as getting excellence or mastery over it? Do you believe? Because most of the students or most of the people are from rural India. You say, you name it, there will be English. You name anything, there will be English. But what about those rural Indians? Because we are all Indians, you have concentrated mostly on worldwide, I could understand. But as we are conducting it in India, I have it raised in my mind. What happens to the students or people from rural background? They cannot cope with the rapid pace of globalization in language acquisition. I think so.
Of course, that's a very valid point. Maybe in a very small classroom setup is that we might have experiences. People coming from the urban background and from the rural background, there is a sharp difference between the two groups, right? And they always struggle to cope up with the language, with communication as well. And I feel in all my classes, I used to tell my students that these are mental blocks. These are mental blocks. English is just a language. Just the way we have our own vernacular or any other languages, English is also yet another language. Hence, because we have brought in this idea that English is synonymous with knowledge, English is synonymous with intellect. This thought has blocked the minds of the people or the students in the rural background. And if only we can, help them shed these mental blocks, break this mental block, and tell them English is just yet another language. Just the way you go and settle down when you go and settle down in Delhi, you pick up the language from the outer world, right? When you go to a shop, I tell my students, when you go to a shop, how do you pick up a language there? You listen, right? You tell them. First, initially you will start with, okay, 1 kilo rice, we will say. And then we listen to the person who is, who will come to buy, yet another consumer or customer. If he says, 1 kilo chawal, then next time we go, we will not say 1 kilo rice. Instead, we just put our, chin up and then we'll say, just can you give me 1 kilo chawal, bhaiya? We will say. So English is also yet another language. If we start listening and by practice, we can obviously break these mental blocks and we can tune ourselves to globalization. Globalization is just a vague term, and it's a term which can be taken in a broader sense only with the help of the teachers and the learners. And the teacher as teachers, we only will have to help them break these mental blocks to help them come out of all these and then help them realize their strengths and weaknesses. And of course, as you said, we do have certain blocks. Okay, it's very difficult for the rural students to just come out of those blocks and to realize their own strength. But of course, it finally is in the hands of the teachers. If we could help them out and we could tell them that it's just a language, it is not synonymous with intelligence or knowledge. It's just a language. Maybe we can help them out to keep pace with globalization. I guess
Yes, ma'am. Yes, you have answered, but you have already answered it in your presentation itself. I thought you might have quoted that the digital revolution will
yes,
definitely help the rural background students also to learn new language, because the words reconnect, undo, redo, these terms related to the digital world, especially during the Zoom classes and the Google Meet classes, the students automatically learn the terms related to the smartphones and all those digital world.
yeah,
Therefore,
yeah,
they start to learn, because soon they will get the mastery over it. Okay.
yes.
Yes. You
Thank
can
you.
proceed.
Okay, thank you so much. Now we'll just move ahead with. I guess Ramesh sir is ready. Yes,
Yeah, madam.
Ramesh
Yeah.
sir,
Can you hear,
shall we
madam?
just go ahead with your presentation? Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
Is
sir.
it audible? Yeah. Fine. Fine. Fine.
Yes, sir. Pretty much. Pretty much.
I'm just sharing my presentation, madam. Yeah.
Okay.
Is it visible, madam?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Your screen is visible.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Fine. So, good morning to everyone, and I'm very much thankful to the organizers and today's session chair, and today given me an opportunity to on my study. The study my today's my the topic is research output of gender studies in India, a centrometric as a tool for measuring a research performance during a of to 2010 to 2019, the study which I have taken for the last 10 years, 1 decade. And I am Ramesh Nagala, working at Indian Council of Social Science Research in New Delhi. And the gender studies is an emerging and interdisciplinary field, and it has it has very sensitivity at a present situation. It has very vital role. It plays a vital role in the society, and it is a devoted to gender identity, which analyzes the construction of gender in society, often concerning a class, race, and sexuality, and other sociological characteristics. In this area, and the study which I have conducted, from the Scopus, which I have used for the as a secondary, which I have used for the source of research output. And as such, the gender studies has since the many universities are coming up with as a discipline. Those are universities which I have given over here, and also University, Indira Gandhi, and Ambedkar University. So many have come up with research and postgraduate level, undergraduate level. At the same time, there is one literature which I have found that it shows how the scholarship of gender scholarship have come. The interaction of the that is an interaction of the international process colonialism and neo-colonialism, and the current phase of globalization with a national agenda, and how these have further marginalized millions of women is another area of gender scholarship. This is one of the best which has historically has proved the literature which I have given this in the reference also. So the objective of this study is that Indian research output specifically, and its growth rank, and a global publication share, and the patterns of international collaboration and major collaborative partners share, the publication productivity of impacting a leading institutions of India, the impact of high cited papers, and the attributes of the research communication in the most productive journals. So these are the major objectives. The source which I have taken, Scopus citation database. Specifically, I have used the keyword for gender studies, which the research output which I have received, that has been that has the data has analysis, that has been I'm discussing in the next slides. So the India has, as per the study found, India ranks as the sixth among the 10 countries in gender studies, and with a global publication of the top 10 countries is 15,267 papers. Out of the United States has topped the list with a global publication. It says 36.37. United Kingdom is the second one, and Canada is the third, and Australia shares is 8.0, and Sweden is shares 5.7, and India shares 5.14, which stands as sixth position. And apart from that, we India has much had to other countries like Germany and Spain, South Africa, and Netherlands. These are the in terms of research output. So this is the table which have given here with details the research output as well as share of percentage. Secondly, at the same time, India's publication output in gender studies, in specifically India's publication output for the last 10 years, I have analyzed, and that is around 785 papers have found on especially in gender studies. So these are for the last when I have divided two period, 5 years and 5 years, that is 2010 to 2014 and 2015 to 2019. When I have divided two, and we witnessed the growth of 59.24, the growth it has witnessed. It shows as where the gender studies is the research of gender studies is clearly it's increasing trends. That is, and also and also the average citation of each paper is 4.16. Its table will be displayed in the table 6, and this is the this is the table India's year-wise number of publication. The that is in the year 2010 is a 38 papers only, and when it is 2019 is 125 papers, and it's increasing trends only. It's increasing trends. It so very clearly shows. And at the same time, category-wise gender study, category-wise in gender studies, category means the what kind of documents are available and the research outputs. So that as a research article is a major contribution, which has 64.71 percentage have contributed in this research output. That is articles are 508, and book chapters is 112, and books are 66. Like this, this is the contribution of their total research output of this on gender studies. So India's specifically at the international collaboration or the international collaborations, how yeah, these research paper, how we are collaborated with other countries, and how many countries we have. Around 55 countries I found this we have collaborated this total research output for last 10 years, collaborate with other countries. Out of the 55, 10 top countries have taken minimum whoever collaborated 4 papers, so those I have taken. So this is United Kingdom is a major one where we have found. United States is 40. Even the United States have a highest in the publication terms. But we said our United Kingdom is in terms of sharing of research collaboration. United Kingdom has taken a first place, and second United States and Australia, Canada, Netherlands, like this. It has, and the next. The research profile of the most productive Indian institution in general. Which institutions have mostly productive on gender studies that I have analyzed? And these, the Delhi University has a top with more 53 papers which I have, and followed by JNU 48 papers, and this Tata Institute of Social Science with 33 papers. Like this, these are the top 10 institutions who have contributed the major contribution in gender studies. And in the citation point of view, year-wise citations, I have again citation point of view, the research impact usually will measures in terms of citations. So I have taken this parameter too, and also it shows 2010 we have published only 35 we have published only 38 papers, but its citation impact is 515 citations have found in the study. And at the same time, 2017 is a 379, second highest, and 2011 is 379, and 2017 with a 2017 and 2018 is 377, 377 citation. Like this this study has found the citation. So we could measure that the research, the citation, wherever the citations have more means there that the research paper has very high in depth of it has a high impact on research. So that way it shows the 2010 and 2011 has very high, even less papers also, but that citations are very more. So that it's one of the major study found. Apart from that, the top cited papers I have taken. Who are the top cited papers? The top cited titles I have taken out. So this is things table number 7, gender studies. This is Mr. Agrawal, who has a 153 number of citations, 153. Series 4.67 of the total citations, that is 3,000 plus total citations for the last 10 years. So at the same time, secondly, this Kambos S.B. Gupta, the International Journal of Information Management. And so these are the top cited papers. Apart from the top productive journals, which are the top productive journals in India. So that also I have taken. So it shows the Indian Journal of Gender Study has contributed highest papers with 160 papers, is sharing of 20% of the total the total research output. At the same time, second one is EPW, also 48 papers which has contributed. And again, women's and gender studies in India crossing, there is one journal which are 21 papers. So these are the top 10 journals which has been so which has been for the study has found this, like this. So at the end I could say these are the studies which I have found. At the end I could say the Indian publication output is larger than even even it is is a larger than the Germany, Spain, and South Africa, and Netherlands. But we are much behind again the United States, UK, Canada, Australia, and Sweden. So it required there is an urgent need for the significant increase in the research and development investment. So both in these research areas, so both institution level and external funding from different funding bodies need to be a look into this area. At the same time, the academic and research institution also should take steps to create interest in the research in gender studies. Especially the core research institutions are independent research institutions across in India. They're supposed to be take care this study, and they should be motivated. The academic staff should be motivated to the young professionals and so scientists to be to go ahead in the research. At the same time, the training programs also, the training programs required to be with funding support agencies should be conducted regularly, and international collaboration at the same time, international collaboration need to be looked into. So it, in terms of the quality of the research, it will enhance. So the individual institutions as and research institutions, professional body should look into this area, and and to collaborate more national, international level among themselves, and to be to enhance the research output of the gender studies. This is my conclusion, madam. And if any questions, I could be answered.
A good presentation, sir. I have two questions for you.
Yeah, madam.
The first one is, do you believe scientometric tool really increases the quality of research? Because you have used that scientometric as a measure for research performance of the researchers. Do you believe this scientometric really increases the quality of research? Won't it urge the researchers to go after publications with low quality?
Yeah, yes, madam. This the scientometric definitely it would help to the scholars. So where the research paper stands. So in there the scholars should look into this aspect, and so my paper has how much citation. The analysis will help to the research scholars, and definitely research scholars can able to improve in the area where suppose many researchers institutions are there. They publish a very publications very regularly. They publish as many as publications in the field. But at the last, how much impact the citation, how much it is impacted by research. It measures, so it measures through citation. That citations can go through the symptomatic tool, only can able to be measured. So I could say this would be one of the major tool for to help in terms of measuring of the research.
Okay, sir, as you have told, it makes me to measure my own research performance. It makes me, it encourages me on seeing the citations and all those things.
Right.
But sometimes it also keeps the researcher to pursue a race, to run in a race where as much as publications she or he could publish or perish.
Right.
It leads to such environment. Am I right, sir?
Right. It is there, of course. You see, the same. Our UGC also have APA score have introduced. So once that measurement have come out, the APA measurement have come out, and the number of publications in a year in each discipline have increased 10 times, 20 times of the publication. But whereas the quality of the publication has the quality of publication has proportionally decreased. So like this, it will be there. Both ends it will be there in that angle. If we can look into so to increase the things, but this is true, madam, which you have said.
Yes. And the second question I have is,
Yeah.
uh, as you have done a great insight into the topic gender studies, I
Right.
want to ask you this: Do this, do these augmenting, valuable, painstaking research publications of the scholars or researchers result in acclaiming gender equality in the contemporary Indian society? You have said there are the number of journals or number of articles gets multiplied every year. Do they result in acclaiming or claiming gender equality in the contemporary Indian society?
Uh, I didn't get, madam, actually exactly which.
Okay. What is the output of these valuable research publications, sir? You said they have been cited this much times, they have been highly
Yeah.
acclaimed.
Oh.
But what is the real output, the practical solution? What did they offer to gender equality? As they are based on gender studies, this much these much researchers have
Right.
involved in analyzing gender studies.
I understood.
Do they produce? Okay, you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah, madam. Understood. Yeah, definitely. I could guess in that since I'm not that faculty level of research core researcher, but I could as in a study bibliometry study as a level. I could say this definitely improve the research which the research output definitely improve in terms of various issues. So in various issues in the gender level, many issues are there in gender level that could have been the research could have been resolved many of the issues, and it ultimately it could have impacted much better, much progressive level. So what I guess it, madam, I didn't study in depth those papers to be which how these where it has exactly those the output has improved in or resolved the issues. So that was one of things.
Yes, sir. I hope, as you are from IACSSR, I hope these research outputs will help in the policy making of Indian
Right,
administration. I hope definitely these researchers will help in policy making regarding the gender issues.
right.
Okay, sir. Thank you
Thank you.
for your presentation, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. We can proceed with the next presenter.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now we'll just move ahead with the next presenter, Mrs. Ccllrm, ma'am. Ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am. My topic is Tagore's Gitanjali is a humanist poem. Tagore was a great poet, philosopher, and artist. He wrote short stories, dramas, poems, and novels in Bengali, and later he translated some of them into English. His writings generally influenced Bengali culture during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. He made it possible to make an art using some different forms and styles. Gitanjali is a book of song offering to God, that is devotion to God. It was translated by the great poet Sri Rabindranath Tagore. It contains an assortment of 103 poems. Tagore won the Nobel Prize for this poem. He also got universal recognition through his literary achievement. The emergence of Tagore into the English literary coincides with the publication of this Gitanjali. During at this time, he was appreciated by W.B. Yeats in the introduction, and also A.C. Bradley also appreciates him. And next, I'm moving on to his translation of Gitanjali. What are his observations? So, regarding the translation, Tagore observes that he translated the whole poem into a good prose, English prose. And he says most writers accepted his translation work as a part of literature. Since it is a prose, he says we can't find any rhyme or meter or rhythm or anything else as we have in the poem. But even though it achieved the people, it reached the people to a large extent. And the poems were written to be sung, but they sang themselves. And the book has spoken to countless hearts, and it has been a revelation of what they felt and experienced, and cannot even be forgotten. And the songs of Gitanjali are mainly the closest personal connection between the poet and the eternal as lover and beloved.
Excuse me, Chidambaram Rani, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
You can play the PPT, ma'am. I think so. You have stopped playing it,
Okay,
or
ma'am.
you haven't yet started. You can start playing it.
Is it visible, ma'am?
Yeah, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Sure.
The songs of Gitanjali are songs mainly, it expresses the personal connection between the poet and the eternal, that is God, as lover and beloved, wife and husband, servant and master, friend and friend, and as if the poet were trying to approach reality in a personal way throughout a personal relationship. They are songs constructing out of themselves in their own wondrous world, as if they are uniting a point of the inner heart of the poet and it raised to the horizons of within the God. And Gitanjali is a confluence of romanticism, mysticism, and humanism. In Gitanjali, we can find the nature, that is the worship of words were define nature, and the passion of Shelley, and then the joy of Keats, and the artistic work of Tennyson. His poems are remarkable for the simplicity, spontaneity, brilliant imagery, and striking originality. Next, he speaks about spirituality also. Spirituality does not mean that it is a great escape from the problems of life or a complete negation of life. It's not where we begin. According to him, it is not where we begin, but where we end. So if sometimes we are in a critical situation, we have to take some kind of decision. So at that time, we have to surrender completely ourselves to God. So that point is insisted here regarding spirituality. And it is within this mystic vision that Tagore beheld God in the panorama of natural beauties. And the next thing is, what is the outstanding quality of Tagore is, in each and every line of his poetry, he speaks about life. And Tagore's sympathy for all forms of life was real and rich. According to him, God and religion got betrothed to each other long before he ever became aware of their existence in himself. But there is an unmistakable message, of course, in his work. The very first line of the opening song of Gitanjali seems to have the power to set the heart ablaze. Thou hast made me endless, such as thy pleasure. That is, the human body is considered the soul, and the human soul is the temple of God. God is indeed man's friend, lover, and protector. So, according to God, Tagore, darkness leads to death and light brings knowledge, and the promise of life's renewal and immortality. So God comes to the rescue of man with his light and thunder, when desire blinds the mind with delusion and dust. Thus, his best pieces bring enlightenment and heighten our sensibility and awaken men to the above sheer delight of existence. The whole poem consists of bhakti, and his another important thing here to be noted is Tagore is not afraid of death because he loves this kind of life, and he knows that he shall love death as well. And then next he speaks about Renaissance. And regarding Renaissance, what is his point is he shares richly the Renaissance spirit. See, all devotional songs are said to be sung, and the various moods in which Tagore is visualizing God are visually seen in all his work. So Renaissance means freeing the mind from its bondage of gloominess or darkness. He thinks of human life as a questioned world, and God is the only source of light. So the way to achieve immortality is through the path of self-surrender. When the human beings develop unbounded love, they will realize the intensity of God. This sort of unlimited love is possible only through devotion towards God. God, with the golden touch of his feet, has kindled the light of reason and lamp of love in his mind. The light of God's music illumines the universe. So God is the life of life, truth of truth, love of love, power of power, and king of all kings. And he also says God is within us. He is omniscient and omnipresent. The gifts given by God to the poet go back to God again. The seeking of God is not the negation of life. While man brings sorrow as his offering to God, God rewards man with his own grace. He prays to God to give him the strength to raise his mind high above daily trifles, to surrender with love his strength unto God's will. So Tagore says, give me the strength to bear my joys and sorrows. Give me the strength to make my love fruitful in service. Give me the strength never to disown the poor. All these songs form a mighty piece of prayer and pleading and exaltation. And finally, before I conclude, I am ready to conclude with Krishna Bakshi's observation that whatever may be the changes As time passes, even time goes in future, people will again and again start humming Gitanjali songs on the highway or men rowing upon rivers because the songs meet the need of the elemental man's soul. It appears always within the soul, that is the essential, what the essential man needs. It may not be an intellectual one, but it touches each and everybody's heart. So W.B. Yeats rightly called the Gitanjali a work of supreme culture and just regarded as the song as much the growth of the common soil of the grass and the rushes. Thank you, ma'am.
I have to thank you, ma'am, for the spray of spirituality in the morning.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have one question, ma'am. You have chosen Geetanjali for this seminar, particular seminar. In the robotized millennium, we are talking about literature and language. Am I right? The contemporaneity of language and literature in this robotized millennium. Yes, how far do you think the great work Geetanjali by Rabindranath Tagore is relevant to this contemporary world where spirituality and humanism are being questioned by the young modern minds? These young modern minds are after the digital world, the cyber world. Uh, these words of Gitanjali, how far they are, they are the values, they are the ethics, but how far they are relevant to those minds, how far this Gitanjali can revolutionize.
Youngsters, they are just blooming buds only. So we have to
Yes, ma'am, you can continue. Siddhamarani, ma'am, I couldn't hear you, ma'am.
taking.
Ma'am, are you there, ma'am? I couldn't hear you. Siddhamarani, ma'am. Yes, now.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, as youngsters, they are all blooming buds only. So we have to guide them in a right way. Once if each and everybody starts reading about Gitanjali, reading the songs of Gitanjali, they just know about the spirituality. And then they just come in a right way, I think. This is my own opinion. Even in this digital era, we still have the belief in God. Belief in God. So even in this pandemic time, we are just moving towards the digital world. Even in this time, I have chosen particular this topic, the spirituality. So this is only by the grace of God, I believe. So similarly, our blooming buds also in future, surely they'll just follow such kind of spirituality, I think.
Okay. Did you find the spiritual humanism can be a solution to handle the young minds? I think so, ma'am.
Of course, spiritual humanism should be mingled with hard work as well as with some digital work. Along with the digital work only, everything is possible in today's world. Along with the digital, that's what I'm saying, ma'am. Spiritualism should be mingled with the digital thing. It should be combined, ma'am.
The feelings that are dealt in Gitanjali are always universal. They are common. They are universal. Therefore, it claims
That's
that it is awarded with the Nobel Prize. Yes, of
Yes.
course, ma'am. Thank you for that topic, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
We can proceed with the next center. Maithili, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Now I call upon Mrs. Asha Jennifer to present her paper. Asha Jennifer, please.
Yes, ma'am. A very good morning to everyone. Let me share my screen. The topic I have chosen for the paper presentation is Existentialism, a study of survival in Arvind Adiga's The White Tiger. Existentialism is one of the most exciting and creative movements in the modern world, and the term applied to a theory which deeply influenced a large number of writers, audience, socialists, philosophers, and critics. It concerns the utter existence of individual person as a free agent. In general sense, it examines with recurring problems of finding meanings with existence. Existentialism as a theory touched the most delicate, soft, emotional, and psychological issues of modern human beings and attracted a large number of authors, critics, and philosophers in India as well. So, moving on with the author, Arvind Adiga is a contemporary writer and he is a journalist by profession. And his area of journalism is reporting finance and stock marketing, and he is now working with Times. And this book, The White Tiger, got the Booker Prize in 2008, and he is also wrote lots of other novels. To name a few, Between the Assassination, The Last Minute Hour, Selection Day are the most interesting works, which is having lots of relevance towards this existential approach. So this is what the author is all about, and he is writing lots of novels as well as of now, and focusing on this diasporic and existential behaviors that as an individual who's undergoing in his personal life, and also reporting the problems that are experienced by the people in India as well. So this book, The White Tiger, talks about the problem that is being faced by an ordinary human being, an ordinary man from the class of working class, and his anxiety and his existential behavior, which he wants to relate himself to his owner. So this is what the whole concept of the novel, moving with the paper. So human life has been a complex and a multifaceted reality, defying a conceptual formulation, and hence the contemporary mind has been continually engaged in search of knowledge seeking to impose on the chaos of experience. Existence has never been an easy ordeal for man, for it correlates with struggle for survival in the universe,
Miss
materialistically,
Sasana,
psychologically,
I'd like
and
to disturb you.
spiritually. In this critical process, various schools
Sasana,
of thought
am I audible?
have come up with a theoretical
Sasana,
approaches such as naturalism, realism,
dear
idealism,
Ashama,
feminism,
am I audible,
materialism,
ma'am?
and existentialism that,
Dear
that have
Ashama,
helped discover rational basis for
Ashama,
understanding a number of phenomena. These theories
Ashama,
encompass a wide
sorry
spectrum
to
of
disturb
consciousness:
you.
God, pain, man, anguish,
Can you
absurdity,
move the
abandonment, suffering, and
slide?
fatalism. Hence, existentialism can be easily underlined, not always easy though to be defined, as it names
Ashama,
itself
sorry to
felt
stop
in
you.
many segments of human existence, more so with the routine affairs of our day-to-day life. The quest for discovering the bare ramblings of life
Okay, ma'am. Just now, your slides were not seen, ma'am. Okay, that's why I asked you to move the slides. Okay, ma'am. Now is it
Ma'am, I'm sorry, ma'am, I can't hear you.
first?
Ma'am?
In the beginning, the slides were in the first slide itself, ma'am. It was not all moved to the next one. That's why I asked you to
Okay,
move the slides. Okay, ma'am.
okay, ma'am. Okay. Thank you. The quest for discovering the bare ramblings of life in its most basic form is an inalienable aspect of the psychological framework of existential thought. A constant struggle with one's own show the real way of finding meaning in its own life. In this novel, The White Tiger, the fundamental journey for exploration and self-discovery can be quite unpredictable and accidental, and even could begin with shades of experience and lead to be under disappointment, disgust, simple loss, life of the protagonist to the tendency of making happiness and fulfillment in life. Arvind Adiga's The White Tiger deals with this typical existential strain in an evocation and the poignant manner. Existential angst in its morbid pretense engulfs the marginalized lives of major characters in this novel, mainly as the sequence of their basic Pronspenti for discovering the meaning of life. However futile, it might work out to be at the end of it all. In this never-ending desperation for finding meaning in existence, human beings deploy an equally high degree of steely resolve and perseverance. In fact, swimming against the current, these rank minorities only end up in experiencing inevitable pangs of loneliness and isolation, resulting in despair and devastation. In the galaxy of post-colonial writers who made existentialism as their springboard as well as prime motive in their works, Arvind Adiga stands out as an extraordinary literary figure among the new age writers of diaspora. Arvind Adiga has created a special place in the literary traditions of post-colonial writings by capturing the existential moorings, anguish, subliminal pathos found in the crossroads of transitional cultural conflict. Now, one to shy away from the strains of alienation and despite enveloping the inherent and exile state in which all dislocated lives of Indian diaspora find themselves in. Arvind Adiga's novel has just come up with the finest platform. The White Tiger essentially captures the dichotomy and duality in the lives caught in the contrary interaction between master and the servant. That is, the protagonist, the Balram, who is the servant here, and Ashok, the owner, brought to life on a contrary canvas through the main lively characters and myriad emotions. This saga of psychological trauma and despondency add a psychological cultural immediacy to the issue of existential crisis that affect every conventional aspects of immigrants of subaltern life. Arvind Adiga's end mode of undertaking journeys in multiple forms tries to explore the existential strains permitting the lives of his character. The self-efficacy existentialist that he, as Arvind Adiga's writer's work, evociously shows unmistakable traces of existential philosophy of satire. Moving on with the summary, Balram Haliwa in The White Tiger is a poor Indian villager whose great ambition leads to the pinnacle of Indian business culture in the world of Bangalore entrepreneurs. On the occasion of the President of China's independent trip to Bangalore, Balram tries and writes a letter to him describing his transformation and his experience as driver and as a servant to a wealthy Indian family, which he thinks exemplifies the contradictions and complications of Indian society. Balram moves to New Delhi with Ashok, who is the master, and his wife, Miss Pinky, Madam. Throughout their time in Delhi, Balram is exposed to extensive corruption of Indian society, including the government. In New Delhi, the separation between the poor and wealthy becomes more and more evident by the juxtaposition of the wealthy with the poor city dwellers. One night, Pinky decides to drive the car by herself and she tried to hit and killed a child who was laying on the road. She is worried that was a child and the family eventually decides to frame Balram for the hit and run chase. The police tell them that no one reported a child missing, so it is lucky for them to be out of the case. Ashok becomes increasingly involved in corruption with government, having been humiliated by many a times during a trip back to his village. Balram insults his grandmother and tells the reader that China's premier in the next 8 months he extends to kill his boss. Balram then decides that he is the only way that he will be able to escape from India, will be willingly killing the master who is Ashok. Balram learns how to kill and he plans how to kill his master, which is Ashok. He also finds a way out to whom and no one else inside it can perceive. Arvind Adiga's existential and crude prose animates the battle between India's wealthy and poor. Balram suffers degrading treatment at the hands of the employers. There are many examples Arvind Adiga shows for humiliation of Balram. Balram is not only a driver for Ashok, but Mr. Ashok, but also for the servant carrying bags in malls, cooking, and also he does all the household works for the master. So the main mentality of the rich is showing in this very was so money minded and he asked Balram to search for it. As Arvind Adiga writes, this novel is one of the most important keynote to describe the lights and the darkness. So not only focusing on this existential behavior, he also focuses on the light and the darkness, like how the rich people treat the low class people, or the people who are working as servants for them. So it talks about both the light and the darkness of the country. The novel is somewhat of an account of Balram's journey to find his freedom and in modern day capitalist society. As a writer, Arvind Adiga tries to find lots of behaviors of a common human being, and his way is to find out what all the exists that he has in his hand, to find a very natural way and a very natural thought process which is involved into it. The work shows a modern day with free market and free business. It also shows how it can create economic divisions. In India, there are most social classes, but also social castes. The novel portrays India's society as negative towards the lower social caste. When Balram was asked which caste he was from, he knew it would ultimately cause a biased stance in the employer and determine the future of his employment. This is definitely a big difference seen in Balram's lower caste from back home in his current higher caste in their lifestyle habits and stands of living. Arvind Adiga's The White Tiger as a subtle plan in an extraordinary tale of existential themes and meanings spoken in the essay and in an easy, simple language of common men. It captures the existential angst in the most evocation and strain emotionally, and ravaging the pans of disillusionment and despair, loneliness and isolation, alienation, as characterized by the two major characters, which is Balram and Ashok. Existential angst, widely perceived as an integral theme of existentialism, offers a pan of continental and transgender phenomenon. Existential angst encompasses its ambiguous feeling of anxiety, uneasy, fear, or agony, and disquiet. This angst is quite intriguing in its origin and motives. It may be even offshoot of the experiences or event, could be angelic and random reactions to the hollowness of life and meaningless. Arvind Adiga's White Tiger is a post-colonial novel of real sense. Colonial mentality is also characterized by the lavish mentality of the characters, belonging and to haves and have-nots, silent obedience, mere sufferings, humiliation, and ill criticism are the inseparable experiences of these people. It has observed a few instances of victims, some lower caste and lower class, is almost focused on all Indian English works. Balram is the first person to revolt against the injustice and exploitation. Novel stands out due to the change in author's point of view. Indian economy was open for foreign trades, investors, and businessmen since 1990. This globalization had its effects on the social, cultural movements of the country. Indian society became liberal in approaches towards each other. New social ethos finds its place in the new novels. Previously, Indian people were exploited on the basis of caste and gender in the history mostly. The rich people used to exploit the poor in the past, and today the exploitation has occurred on the more one-dimensional. Needy people, irrespective of their caste, have been exploited in the modern industrial world. Nobody talked about Biju and his father's caste in the entire novel. People looked at them as the objects of exploited, and but globalization, instead of relieving them of their trouble, has added further difficulties of existing ones. For example, Cook stayed at the judge residence for many years. Biju, his son, was also giving an accommodation in the same place where the protagonist Balram was living. To conclude, the study of this white tiger by Arvind Adiga is a story of modern India. It reflects the journey of an individual from a dark background to a wealthy entrepreneur and experiences the main theme of the novel. It would be referred as a novel with a broad term is the eye opener for India. It is to say that this novel, where all the issues is from democracy, religion, culture to caste, class, and globalization are covered. So that's all, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Asha ma'am, nice presentation. It is the need of the day topic. We are all struggling to survive amidst this great situation of pandemic, and you have taken a topic on existentialism and study of survival. But do you think regarding this Balram Halwai, do you think this kind of liberal economy advocated by Aravind Adiga is appreciable? Can we recommend our future generation to climb social mobility through these unethical ways? Can we recommend? It's a kind of advocating this liberal economy. Am I right? Can we?
Yes, ma'am. It's a liberal. Yes, ma'am. It's a liberal economy which is portrayed in the novel, and Arvind Adika is portraying that character as one of the most important character, which is widespread. So he is quoting that examples. The people are living in that way, and I'm writing the novel in such a way. I'm just projecting myself as one of the people who are showcasing such characters is what the stand of Arvind Adiga. But to me, if you ask personally, this is not the moralistic way of living. This cannot, it cannot happen, and it's injustice. Though the people, though the higher class people, though Ashok as a owner or Ashok as a owner for Balram, though he showed lots of other improvements towards them. But I think he cannot exhibit this kind of behavior as a rebellion or as a person to take an extreme stand in his life personally. Though though the other part of what happened after killing Ashok was not portrayed in the novel, but still it is an uncovered area where it shows that there are lots of holes in the justice in the court of India. So he got lots of loopholes and came out of that scene is what actually said in the novel. But to me, I think it's immoral. See, what Ashok showed towards Balram is what Balram is actually showing towards Ashok. So it's like a cyclic process, and I'm against this kind of exhibition, ma'am.
Yes, of course, you are right. Did you find what relation? Your topic is existentialism. I could
Yes,
find the relation between the title of the book as well as the title of your topic. Can you justify it? Did you notice it? The relation between the topic and the title of the book. Relation between your topic.
Existentialism. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
And the your title and your topic and the title of the book has a much relation. Did you notice it?
Yes, yes, ma'am, and that's why I have taken it, ma'am.
Okay, the white tiger is an endangered species, isn't it? And but
Yes, ma'am.
it's very unique. It has something unique, which is white. The uniqueness of the tiger is
Yes,
its
ma'am.
color, its quality, and it is the pride
Yes,
of
ma'am.
India also. Am I right? And what about this Balram?
Ma'am.
He
And
is childhood. He is very much intelligent.
This
Because of
white
his
tiger is actually
yes. Because
this white tiger is actually associated with two things as far as I see in this novel. One is with Balram. Balram is having a nickname which is White Tiger. So he was called as White Tiger in his own place, which is a rural area in his native. So when he shifted from his native to Bangalore, I'm sorry, to New Delhi, he got this nickname in his at the back of his mind always. And towards the overall view of how the plot goes and how the theme of this particular novel goes by, this white tiger is also associated with India. So India is being projected as a white tiger here. So that is what I have found out, ma'am, by reading this novel.
I could find Balram is called a white tiger because he is also struggling to survive, just like the white tiger, which is struggling in a environmental crisis. Okay, it's an
Yes,
endangered
yes,
species,
ma'am.
it's going to extinct. Like that, there are so many white tigers who are unique in their character, attitude, talents. They are many in the slum areas of India, but if they could commit such unethical murders or unethical things, they could gain the social mobility. This is what Aravind Adiga wants to warn. It is a great alarm to India. This novel, yes, of course.
Yes,
Thanks for choosing this fiction. It's a wonderful fiction. Thank you.
thank you so much, ma'am. It's a pleasure, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Maitri ma'am, shall I wind up, ma'am, with the end note? Shall I wind it up?
Yes, ma'am.
Uh,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Please present, ma'am.
Dear participants, it's a great pleasure to be a part of this conference. I enjoy very much. I could find wonderful research topics because everyone has put their efforts to come out with their output, and you are very much enthusiastic to present your papers as much you want your ideas should be.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, ma'am. You're audible. You're audible.
Okay, ma'am. It's something noisy, ma'am. Okay. Uh, I just in the beginning of the session itself, I have told you that these presenters are going to give solution to the question, the answer to the question. Really, they have done their justification to the topic they have chosen. I want to give a glimpse of all the presentations in a nutshell. The presenters are for modernity and globalization, where the young minds can have social mobility with the help of English language. There are some presenters who are for ethical research and ethical way of life. They give much importance to spiritual humanism and human values that alone can uplift the human mind and society. It's a wonderful session. I thank Dr. Nahamani ma'am for giving me this wonderful opportunity. And I also thank all the session coordinators and organizers of this great event.
Um,
Maitri ma'am, is there anything else? Shall I send?
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thanks for giving your consent to be the session chair, and thanks for presiding over. And it's been great to have you amid this. So amidst your busy schedule. And as you all know, the session draws to a close, and we will just go ahead with the official vote of thanks. I call upon Mrs. Ccllrm to propose vote of thanks.
Good afternoon to all. First of all, I thank our Almighty for the grace showered for this special occasion. My sincere thanks to our chief guest, Dr. B. Vinay, for her valuable note and for her presence throughout this session. I would like to thank our management and Rsri team for giving us an opportunity to conduct this conference. I extend my warm greetings to our head of the department for her continuous support and guidance. I appreciate and thank all the participants, faculty members, and students for the effort taken. It means a lot for the entire success of the program. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you so much, ma'am. You may take leave, ma'am. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you so much.
And we have shared the feedback link, and you can just fill in the feedback and submit that. Thank you so much, participants.
Alhamdulillah.